So the two albums they're under the title Platinumb Heart. The one is Platinumb Heart Beating, and the acoustic album is Platinumb Heart Open, since it's a double album. And I mean, I was just circling back, to the fact that we still don't have answers for something that resembles a 1976 massacre of people that were just trying to find a living wage. And I'm still kind of flabbergasted that was possible in a supposed healthy democracy. So I went back there because I believe that the protest song and the love song is interchangeable. And as a person who's always processing feelings, I couldn't sort of skip past the fact that that's still bothering me and the families, the grandmothers that are in the Eastern Cape, and the single mothers that still don't, have any answers for losing their husbands, their breadwinners, and family members.
I mean, what you are known for is using your voice, which you definitely have, for change and for good. Is this album, could you call it an album of protest or an album of social change, in particular Platinumb Heart Beating?
We can protest. We don't know if anything is changing, but it is my duty as an artist to sort of lament the things that are breaking my heart as a citizen. Other people are doing it through other mediums. Other people are actually doing work on the ground and, supporting them through the things that we say and also the things that we do when we can. It's something that it's like the least I can do is write songs about what I see. And, I mean, there are people that are in these situations, and protest is not a heavy thing. Miriam Makeba was a protest musician. There are so many people that have always used their voice to just sort of tell what's going on. And these are the times that I'm living in, and it's also my duty to make sure that they're documented. But it's also to kind of preserve the soul of society. If the artists aren't able to say that this is not okay, that's the beginning of a collapse. And that's why I ask questions about the heart. What are we processing? What are we feeling? And that's kind of my job.
And an important message. I mean, almost 10 years later, and we're still looking for answers. Why Platinumb? I know there's a wordplay on platinum and numb as well, but why that in particular?
I guess music is a way to, I would say, maybe try not to give into a state of numbness. It's my own way to fight the actual physical feeling of not wanting to engage because you are so overwhelmed by what's going on. So the music is a way for me to traverse these things that I can't really process. But at the same time, it's, a reference to the platinum belt. And I mean, I don't really know how else to explain it, which is why I just do the work. South Africa is a strange place because it's just a paradox. We've got the best constitution on paper, but we can't put people that have done wrong things behind jail. It's also the best place to be a young person on paper as well. This is where the African continent comes for opportunity, but you see unemployment, you see youth unemployment, and you're seeing the way that's manifested is affecting our relationship with the rest of the continent as well. Because there's just such a scarcity in what we can do to keep ourselves busy as young people. And so even writing songs like Fit Your Life, it's like a dance song. We get to jam on it, jam to it on the weekend. But even just stripping it back into my acoustic album was to reveal the fact that behind that song it's a pained cry that we have young people that will have varsity degrees, but still we have such a higher number of unemployed graduates. There's no real programs in townships for young people. You'll find that one art center, but it's under-resourced, understaffed. And so socially, there's just so much that needs to change on the community level so that young people have a fighting chance. And then you go and you protest so that you can have assistance to go to university. And the answer that the government will give you is bullets. So it's a conundrum that needs some kind of solution, and it needs a person with a heart as a leader to think about what the real solutions are, not the PR solutions.
Talk to me about the distinctions between Platinumb Heart Beating and Platinumb Heart Open, and also the similarities. Do both albums speak in the same voice, if I can put it that way?
Yeah, I think the themes are the same. I mean, sonically, I am catering to two different markets, but that's also two different loves. the reason why I decided to drop them at the same time was to use this moment as a moment of synthesis, because I am both those artists. I'm the artist that, that will be on those electronic dance tracks, but I'm still the same person who will take my guitar and sing a song, that's bare and stripped back. And I think it's also just to say that I don't really respect genres at this point. I know that they're just a way to sort of catalog and file music for people that want to sell it. And I'm just looking for ways to send messages, little smoke signals out to say that I care and I'm thinking about these things and I'm hurting when people can't hurt and when people can't break. It's my job to go to the places that can't be reached. And if I can at least try and do that with my artistry, then I'm using the gift that I've been given in a way that could make sense, for its weight and its size. I'm still trying to figure it out, but, the genres don't mean much to me.
In closing, Msaki, just what was the first song you wrote in this project, and how much of that song, how much of it inspired you for the rest of the songs that came afterwards?
That's such a great question because I didn't know I was making an album. I started with Blood, Guns and Revolutions, which, as you've mentioned, was a reaction to the violence on the Platinum Belt that the miners experienced. And it's just asking questions about whose hands have blood, 8, 9, 10 years later. The same questions are being asked and the same community is still confused about, some kind of reparation. But the rest of the album sort of fell out of me, once I started asking those questions, because we just went through so much, and some of these things are turned into hashtags that will trend for a moment. And, it's also thinking about how we process pain in this digital age. Something will trend for a bit, and we're able to process our feelings for it as a collective. And then as Koleka Putuma, the poet, talks about collective amnesia, we fall back into some sort of collective amnesia where we really just don't process well. We don't process pain well. And so for me, I needed to make these musical monuments, for things that happened, like I Am Next. I remember us really going through something as a country when Uyinene died, and it wasn't to say that she was the poster child for this horrible, scourge, this violence that still is part of our fabric as a society. We still have these titles like the rape capital of the world. And those things happen, but you still have leaders that are extremely blunt and tone deaf to these things, that will have rape as a question in their personal in their personal life. There will be such questions. So I was asking questions about that, and I was also just wondering, what is it going to take for a girl child to feel safe? What is it going to take for a female to not feel afraid?